Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Heater arrived late in the day yesterday. Amazon workers do work on in the evening. But it's early in the day today. I want to get this fixed up because by now, which is, where's me now thing, me clock, I think it's called 8:15. By now I would have falsely pushed up the temperature in here to 21, waiting for the sun to join in and take it higher. Now yesterday obviously that didn't happen, you know, I didn't get that early morning surge, and so I want to get this wired up and get it working basically. So we'll get it out of the box and have a look. It's a third of the price of the one that's gone wrong. That's a lot less. And it's the sort of price that, you know, if it lasts 2 years it will have earned its keep at that price. So we won't worry so much. I mean, I did the same with the hydrofogger. You know, I went for something quite elaborate compared with the little home misters that I used to have. But that's worked well, because that's lasted incredibly well, and it's still working fine. Right. It's heavy, I'll give it that, so it must be pretty sturdy to weigh that much. Typical. So there's something that it sort of annoys me, because it means that companies are thinking we're too stupid to be able to do a simple thing like change a plug. So what they do now, they give you instructions for something that's got an on-off switch. What they do now, which as I said, it annoys me because of the mentality behind it. It's health and safety gone mad, because it's assuming we're just too stupid to be able to do stuff. Therefore they try and stop us doing stuff. And all plugs now are sealed. They don't come apart, so you can't take that plug off and use it somewhere else. Well, you can, you cut it off, but you can't reuse it basically because it doesn't come apart. And it's just, you know, we can't be trusted to change a plug. You can change the fuse, but it doesn't come apart. It hasn't got screws like the older ones did. So to actually fix this up, I will have to cut that off so that I've got the bare wires, which can then join in with the wires on the fan and be wired into a plug that has got screws and comes apart. I've got to be careful with plugs nowadays, because, you know, those types of plugs that do come apart are becoming quite a rare occurrence. Anyway, this has got 3 settings. Well, it's got off, count that as a setting. Then it's got fan only, and then it's got fan and 1 kilowatt of heat and fan and 2 kilowatts of heat, and it does have a thermostat. For my purposes, the thermostat will always be full on, so that the heater can never shut down. The thermostat that it's going to be connected to controls the on-off function, and that will stay on 2 kilowatts as well. Now I'm hoping that this heats up a lot quicker, because the old one, on reflection, the old one was starting, you know, the thermostat would call for heat, the fan would come on and the heater would come on. But if you stood in front of it, it was taking several minutes before you could feel the heat. So that heating element was taking a long time to get up to temperature. That's wasting electricity, wasting power. Yeah? So I'm hoping this one heats up an awful lot quicker. And this does come apart. It's got screws everywhere to take it apart, which implies some of the parts might be replaceable. It's got screws to take the top off and the handle, and everything round here comes apart. Like I said, that sort of implies that parts are replaceable. Whether you can get hold of them or not remains to be seen. Anyway, it's simplistic enough. I'll get this fixed up and then we'll come back and test it, see it working. But I've got to do the fiddly wiring stuff first. Need a coffee for that. I'll be back. Right, it's all sort of wired in. At the moment it's switched off and the thermostat is down to 0. So obviously the heater won't come on. And what I've done with the governing thermostat is set it to a temperature that's lower than it is in here at the moment, so it's not calling for heat. This fan is switched on. So what we now do is we'll bump this up. That's my normal 21, and the fan should kick on. Okay, but the heater hasn't come on because it's not turned on. So what we'll do now is we'll turn it on. So what we've got now is just a fan. There's no heat because the thermostat's down. So to get this to start chucking heat out, we turn the thermostat round. I heard it click. Yeah, now we've got heat. Now we've got heat coming through. So it's working. Oh. Yeah, we've got heat coming through. So we have heat back in here. Now the temperature currently in here is 18 because when this is not being set, it's not being adjusted, it reads the temperature for the thermostat, which is over there, the little sensor. So it's currently 18 in here, but I've set it to 21. So this should now stay on until it reaches 21. Right, well, I'm not going to stand here and watch it. I mean, the heat's coming out, the fan's distributing that heat. I've got stuff to clear up, and obviously, it should do its job and get the heat up in here at a reasonable rate. I did notice that the heat did start coming out of that heater almost immediately. The other one was taking some time to actually, for the heating element to heat up enough to give off the heat. So hopefully this one, if it gets up to temperature quicker, then obviously it won't need to be on for as long. So I think the other one was on its way out anyway, and the chances are it was the... Oh, and for those who worried about, go and plug it in somewhere else, the fan was working. So the old heater had power on it, the fan was working. What wasn't working was the heating element, which is either the element itself or the thermostat, one or the other. It's unlikely to be both failing at the same time. Anyway, this is up and running. We should get, we're up to 19 already. So hopefully that's, a fix that's been done at nowhere near the cost of the other one. And hopefully this one, it's got a year's warranty on it, so I've got a year where I'd get a replacement. But the only moving part in there is the fan, quite honestly. So hopefully it'll do its job. So I'll just leave that to run now. I've got other stuff to do. So yeah, kit failure is inevitable. Nothing lasts forever. And it's just a matter of dealing with it. I mean, I bought a dehumidifier for here. It never gets used now. So something's changed in here dramatically, because at one point I couldn't get rid of the humidity in here. I was coming down in the morning and it was 100%. That never happens now. So something's changed. And I think this environment is chopping and changing, and it's settled now. And we should be okay, but the dehumidifier isn't getting used at the moment, and the air cleaner I never turn on. I keep forgetting. But the hot box does need to be used on a more regular basis, but it is doing its job in as much as, when I water all my pots, I'm not stopping on every other plant to rub scale off with my thumb, on leaves and things. That's not happening anymore. So it is doing its job. Whether it's got every single one or not, I doubt it, but it's doing its job. So and ideally it should stop the youngsters, the crawler stage, and if they don't get to breed, then eventually they will be wiped out. Cool, my legs are starting to get quite warm now, so we're up to 20 already, so doing its job. And obviously I don't have to worry about the thermostat on the heater cutting it off at the right temperature. That's done by the controller over there. So when that hits 21 in a minute, it will turn everything off again. So yeah, that wiring that plug was a bit fiddly because you've got two wires going into it, and obviously the ends of the two wires have got to be wound together so that they can go into the single pin on the plug. That's why we're not supposed to mess about with plugs, because you're not really supposed to do that, but there isn't another way of doing it. The controller's only got one socket, so you know, to do it any other way I'd have to have a little extension lead coming out with two plugs in it, and then the heater and the fan could have its own individual plug. But anyway, I've done it that way. You know, that's the way it works for now. There we go, we've reached 21 and it's all shut down. So we're working, and again, you know, that should kick on again in however long it's going to take. The temperature outside was quite cool again this morning, but it's going to come up, and we've now got the wind direction is going to change with our weather. You know, this is more important for the garden really. So although we're going to have blue sky and sunshine for the next few days, the wind direction's changing and starting to come up more from the south instead of coming from the northeast, which drags air in across the North Sea, which is cooler. But that's irrespective of the sun on my plants in the garden, which is, you know, they're struggling against it. But because the air direction's changing, the temperatures are going to go up. You know, so they're estimating that some parts of the UK will hit 30 degrees at the weekend. But that moist air with that heat is supposedly going to generate some pretty vicious thunderstorms. No doubt I will get one 5 miles to the west and another one 5 miles to the east, and as usual I'll get nothing at all. I'd be quite happy to see this back garden under an inch of water. It'll all soak away eventually. Anyway, that's that bit of kit sorted. That's one worry gone.